When did a friendship turn into true love? I was on a road trip with my guy best friend when my car broke down. No, no, no. I slammed my palm against the steering wheel as the engine made one last pathetic wheeze before dying completely. Steam poured from under the hood like a dragon's final breath. And the air conditioning cut out with a mechanical sigh that left us in instant. Crushing heat. Well, this is fantastic, Sam muttered from the passenger seat, already rolling down his window. Middle of nowhere, Nevada. Temperature's probably 110, and we're officially stranded. I stared at the empty highway stretching in both directions. Not a single car had passed us in the last hour. Just endless asphalt, scrubby desert, and mountains that looked like cardboard cutouts against the blazing sky. My phone showed one measly bar, and I frantically started dialing. Come on, pick up, I whispered, listening to the ringtone. Pick up, voicemail. Of course. Hey babe, it's me. Our car broke down and we're stuck on route, I squinted at the last mile marker I remembered. Route 50, somewhere between nowhere and the middle of nowhere. Call me back immediately, okay? This is kind of an emergency. Sam was already getting out of the car, popping the hood with practiced ease. Let me guess. Straight to voicemail? He's probably in a meeting, I said. But even I could hear how defensive I sounded. It's Tuesday afternoon. He's got that big presentation today. Right. Sam disappeared behind the raised hood, and I heard him muttering under his breath. Hand me that water bottle from your bag, would you? I grabbed the bottle and walked around to where he was bent over the engine. Sweat was already beading on his forehead, and his t-shirt was starting to stick to his back. The engine compartment looked like a mechanical disaster zone. Hoses everywhere, metal parts I couldn't begin to identify, and everything covered in a fine layer of desert dust. So what's the verdict, Dr. Mechanic? I asked, trying to keep my voice light. Well, the good news is it's not the transmission. He poured water over something that was steaming and stepped back as more vapor erupted. Bad news is it looks like the radiator hose gave up the ghost, and possibly the water pump too. Without proper tools, he shrugged. My phone buzzed. A text from my boyfriend. In back-to-back meetings until 6. What's up? Are you kidding me? I stared at the screen. Back-to-back meetings? I told him it was an emergency. Sam glanced over at my phone, then back at the engine. What did he say? He said he's in meetings until 6. I checked the time. It was barely 2 in the afternoon. 4 more hours. Huh. Sam's voice was carefully neutral, but I caught something in his tone. Well, I guess we're on our own then. I texted back frantically. Car completely dead. Stranded in middle of desert. Need help now. The response came back almost instantly. Can't talk right now. Called AA? Called AA? I said out loud. Call AA? Does he think I'm an idiot? Sam looked up from where he was prodding something with a screwdriver he'd found in the trunk. I take it Prince Charming isn't riding to the rescue? He told me to call AA. I was already dialing. Like that wasn't the first thing I tried. The AA representative was polite but unhelpful. I'm sorry, but the earliest we can get a tow truck to your location is tomorrow morning. We're dealing with multiple breakdowns due to the heat wave, and you're in a pretty remote area. Tomorrow morning? My voice cracked. We can't stay out here overnight. I understand your frustration, ma'am. You might try flagging down a passing vehicle for assistance. I hung up and looked at Sam, who was now elbow deep in the engine compartment. Tomorrow morning. The earliest they can get here is tomorrow morning. Awesome. He wiped his hands on his jeans, leaving greasy streaks. Okay, new plan. I think I can jury-rig something with the spare hose from the windshield washer system. It's not ideal, but it might get us to the next town. You can do that? I can try. He was already pulling tools out of his backpack. Not just the basic roadside kit, but actual mechanical tools. My dad made me learn this stuff when I got my first car. Said I'd thank him someday. I watched him work, systematically disconnecting hoses and examining connections. His movements were confident, methodical. Meanwhile, I kept checking my phone, hoping for something more helpful from my boyfriend than his dismissive texts. Another message. Babe, I'm sure it's not that bad. Cars break down all the time. Just wait for the tow truck. Just wait for the tow truck, I read aloud. He says it's not that bad and cars break down all the time. Sam paused in his work. Did you tell him we're stuck in the desert with no shade and it's over 100 degrees? Of course I did. And his advice is to wait it out? Apparently. I was starting to feel genuinely angry now. He's acting like this is no big deal. Sam didn't say anything for a moment, just continued working. Then, without looking up, you know, in the 3 years I've known you, I don't think I've ever seen him actually show up when you needed him. That's not fair, isn't it? He glanced at me, then back at the engine. Remember when you got food poisoning last month? Who drove you to urgent care at 2 in the morning? You did, but, and when your apartment flooded? Who spent the entire weekend helping you move your stuff and deal with the insurance company? You, but that's different. You're my friend. Right. His voice was still calm, but there was an edge to it now. I'm your friend. What does that make him? Before I could answer, he straightened up, wiping more grease on his shirt. Okay, I think I've got something here. It's not pretty, and it's definitely not permanent, but it might work. He'd somehow connected a section of windshield washer hose to bridge a gap in the radiator line. It looked like automotive surgery performed with duct tape and prayer. Will it hold? Long enough to get us to civilization, hopefully. He was refilling the radiator with our remaining water bottles. Cross your fingers. My phone rang. Finally. Thank God, I said, answering immediately. Where have you been? I've been texting you for over an hour. I told you. I'm in meetings. My boyfriend sounded irritated. Look, I only have a minute. What's the big emergency? Our car broke down. We're stranded in the desert. Okay, well, did you call roadside assistance? Of course I called roadside assistance. They can't get here until tomorrow morning. Tomorrow? That seems excessive. Are you sure you called the right number? I looked at Sam, who was pretending not to listen while he made final adjustments to his makeshift repair. Yes, I'm sure I called the right number. The heat wave has everyone's car breaking down, and we're in the middle of nowhere. Well, I don't know what you want me to do about it from here. I can't exactly teleport to Nevada. I want you to care. I want you to act like your girlfriend being stranded in the desert is more important than your stupid meetings. My stupid meetings? These meetings are paying for our trip in case you forgot. And for the record, you're not exactly stranded if Sam is there with you. The line went quiet. Even Sam looked up at that. What's that supposed to mean? I asked. Nothing. Look, I have to go. Just figure it out, okay? You're both adults. He hung up. I stared at the phone, not quite believing what I'd just heard. Sam was watching me now, his expression unreadable. Everything okay? He asked quietly. He said we should just figure it out because we're both adults. My voice sounded hollow. And that I'm not really stranded since you're here. Sam didn't respond immediately. He turned back to the engine, checking his repair one more time. Okay, he said finally. Let's see if this works. He climbed into the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine cranked once, twice, then caught with a rough idle. Steam still rose from under the hood, but it was less dramatic now. It's running, I said, surprised. It's running, he agreed. Question is, for how long? He revved the engine gently, listening to the sound. I think we can make it to the next town if we take it easy and stop if the temperature gauge gets too high. I got in the passenger seat, still processing my boyfriend's dismissive attitude. The air conditioning wasn't working, so Sam rolled down all the windows, and we pulled back onto the empty highway with hot desert air whipping through the car. You know, Sam said after we'd been driving for a few minutes. I meant what I said earlier. About what? He kept his eyes on the road, one hand on the wheel, the other monitoring the temperature gauge. About him never showing up when you need him. I started to argue, then stopped, because as much as I wanted to defend my boyfriend, I couldn't think of a single time in the past year when he'd actually dropped everything to help me with a real problem. It was always Sam. Sam who drove me to the hospital when I broke my wrist. Sam who helped me move apartments. Sam who spent his Saturday fixing my computer when it crashed right before a big work presentation. I never asked you to do those things, I said quietly. I know. He glanced at me briefly, then back at the road. That's not why I do them. The engine made a concerning noise, and he immediately pulled over to check the temperature gauge. We weren't going to make it much further on this repair, but at least someone was trying. We limped into a tiny town called Desert Springs after another 20 minutes of nursing the engine. Sam pulled into the parking lot of what looked like the only gas station for 50 miles in any direction. The temperature gauge was creeping into the red zone, and steam was starting to seep from under the hood again. Well, we made it this far, Sam said, turning off the engine, but I don't think we're going much further without real parts. The gas station was one of those ancient places that looked like it hadn't been updated since the 1980s. A bell chimed as we walked inside, and the elderly man behind the counter looked up from his newspaper with the expression of someone who wasn't used to seeing strangers. Car trouble? He asked, nodding toward our steaming vehicle. Radiator hose, Sam explained. Don't suppose you carry any automotive parts. The man chuckled. Son, I've got motor oil, windshield washer fluid, and air fresheners. Anything more complicated than that, you'll need to wait for Benny. Who's Benny? Local mechanic. But he's gone fishing until Thursday. I felt my heart sink. Thursday? It's Tuesday. Yep, goes fishing every week this time of year. Won't be back until Thursday afternoon. Sam rubbed his forehead, leaving another grease smudge. Is there anywhere else? Another town nearby? Next town with a real mechanic is about 60 miles north. But I wouldn't recommend trying to make it in that car. Not with the radiator problems you're having. My phone had been buzzing intermittently, and I finally checked it. 3 more texts from my boyfriend, each one more irritating than the last. How's it going? Fixed yet? You've been gone all day. Starting to think you planned this whole breakdown thing lol seriously though. When are you coming back? I made dinner reservations for tonight. He made dinner reservations, I said, staring at the screen in disbelief. We're stranded in the middle of nowhere, and he's worried about dinner reservations. Sam looked over my shoulder at the messages. He thinks you planned this? Apparently it's all some elaborate scheme. I was typing furiously. Car still broken. Stuck until Thursday. Cancel the reservations. His response was immediate. Thursday? That's ridiculous. Just rent a car, I showed Sam the message. Just rent a car? Because obviously there's a rental agency in Desert Springs, population 12. Actually, population's about 40. The gas station attendant corrected helpfully. But yeah, no rental cars. Sam walked outside to look at our car again, and I followed him. He popped the hood and examined his makeshift repair, which was already showing signs of failure. The duct tape was coming loose, and there was a small puddle of coolant forming under the engine. So what are our options? I asked. Well, we could call for a tow truck to take us back to a bigger city, but that's going to cost a fortune. We could wait here until Thursday for Benny to come back. Or, he paused, looking thoughtful. Or I could try to find the parts we need and do a more permanent fix myself. Where are you going to find parts out here? Junkyard. Most small towns like this have one. Let me ask inside, he was right. The gas station attendant directed us to a scrapyard about 2 miles outside town. Sam convinced the owner, a weathered woman named Rosa, to let us poke around for $20 and whatever parts we could find. While Sam disappeared into the maze of rusted vehicles, I tried calling my boyfriend again. This time he actually answered. Finally, he said instead of hello. I've been waiting to hear from you. Did you get the car fixed? No, we didn't get the car fixed. We're in some tiny town and the only mechanic won't be back until Thursday. Thursday? Come on, you're being dramatic. There has to be someone else. I'm not being dramatic. We're literally in the middle of the desert. Look, I get that you're frustrated, but you need to figure this out. I already had to cancel our dinner reservations, and now people are asking where you are. People are asking? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What did you tell them? I told them you and Sam went on some spontaneous road trip adventure and lost track of time. Lost track of time? Our car is broken. I know that, but I can't exactly tell everyone my girlfriend is stranded in the desert, can I? It makes me look bad. The words hit me like a physical blow. It makes you look bad? You know what I mean. Like I can't take care of my own girlfriend, but you can't take care of me. You haven't even tried to help. What exactly am I supposed to do from 300 miles away? I can't fix your car remotely. From across the junkyard, I could hear Sam calling out triumphantly. Found one. This might actually work. Who was that? My boyfriend asked. Sam. He found a part that might fix our car. Of course he did. There was something nasty in his tone now. Sam to the rescue again. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Forget it. No, what did you mean by that? Just that it's convenient how Sam always manages to solve your problems. Makes me wonder what you'd do without him. I felt heat rising in my chest that had nothing to do with the desert sun. Are you seriously making this about Sam right now? He's the only reason we're not still sitting on the side of the highway. Right. Saint Sam never does anything wrong. At least he's here. At least he's trying to help instead of making dinner reservations and worrying about what people think. You know what? Call me when you're ready to come home and stop acting like a child. He hung up on me, again. I stood there in the scorching heat, holding my dead phone, feeling more alone than I had in years. From somewhere in the junkyard, I could hear Sam talking to Rosa about radiator compatibility and hose clamps, his voice patient and focused. When he finally emerged, carrying what looked like a slightly used radiator hose, his face was flushed with success. This should do it. It's not an exact match, but it's close enough that I can make it work with the right adapters. He took one look at my expression and stopped. What happened? He hung up on me, again. Sam set down the parts carefully. What did he say? He said I was acting like a child, and that it's convenient how you always solve my problems. Sam was quiet for a moment, wiping his hands on a rag Rosa had given him. You know what's convenient? Having someone who actually cares enough to stick around when things get difficult. Sam, no, I'm serious. Do you want to know what I did when you called me yesterday morning to tell me you were excited about this trip? I cleared my entire weekend, took Monday and Tuesday off work, told my sister I couldn't help her move after all because I had plans with you. I stared at him. You didn't tell me you had to cancel things. Because I wanted to be here. Because spending time with you matters more to me than anything else I had planned. He picked up the radiator hose again, examining it closely. When's the last time he canceled something important to spend time with you? I tried to think of an example and came up empty. That's what I thought. Sam's voice wasn't angry, just tired. You want to know what's really convenient? Having a boyfriend who treats you like an inconvenience unless everything's going perfectly. He's not usually like this, isn't he? Sam looked at me directly. Be honest with yourself. When have you ever had a real problem that he actually helped you solve? I opened my mouth to argue, then closed it again. Because he was right, and we both knew it. Come on, Sam said, shouldering his toolbox. Let's get this car fixed so we can figure out what we're doing next. As we walked back toward the gas station, my phone buzzed with another text. Stop being stubborn. Just take a bus home and we'll laugh about this whole thing next week. A bus. He wanted me to abandon our road trip, abandon our car, abandon Sam, and take a bus home so we could laugh about it next week. I looked at Sam, who was already planning out the repair in his head, muttering about compression fittings and coolant capacity. He'd spent his own money on parts, ruined his clothes, and was about to spend hours in the blazing heat fixing my car, and my boyfriend wanted me to get on a bus. For the first time since this whole mess started, I was beginning to understand exactly what that meant. Sam worked on the car for the next 2 hours while I sat in the shade of the gas station, watching him methodically replace parts and test connections. The temperature had climbed even higher, and sweat dripped steadily from his face as he bent over the engine compartment. You should take a break, I called over to him. You're going to get heat stroke. Almost done, he replied, not looking up. Just need to get this clamp positioned right. My phone had been buzzing constantly with messages, but I'd been ignoring them. Finally, I looked down to see a string of increasingly frustrated texts from my boyfriend. You're not responding. Are you mad at me? This is ridiculous. You're being childish, fine, stay mad. See if I care. BTW Chad asked where you were at lunch today. Had to make up some story about you having car trouble so he wouldn't think you just ditched our plans. People are starting to talk. Jenny asked if we broke up. Call me back. This is getting embarrassing. I screenshotted the messages and was about to put my phone away when I noticed something. The timestamp on his I'm in meetings until 6 text from earlier was 2:15 p.m. But his message about having lunch with Chad was timestamped 2:45 p.m. He wasn't in back-to-back meetings. He was having lunch with friends while I was stranded in the desert. That lying piece of garbage, I muttered. What now? Sam asked, wiping his hands on his shirt. I showed him the screenshots. He said he was in meetings all afternoon, but look at this. He was having lunch with Chad at 2:45. Sam studied the messages, his expression darkening. So he lied about being unavailable. And now he's worried about what people are thinking, about how this looks for him. Of course he is. Sam turned back to the engine, tightening something with more force than necessary. God forbid anyone think he can't control his girlfriend. Before I could respond, a beat-up pickup truck pulled into the gas station. 2 men got out, both looking like they'd been drinking despite it being the middle of the afternoon. The larger one spotted our car with its hood up, and Sam bent over the engine. Having some car trouble there, friend? The man called out, swaggering over with his buddy in tow. Nothing I can't handle, Sam replied politely, not looking up from his work. That's a nice car, the second man said, running his hand along the paint. What year is that? 2019? 2020? 2021, I said reluctantly. 2021. Damn, that's a nice ride. The first man grinned at me in a way that made my skin crawl. You two heading somewhere special? Just passing through, Sam said, straightening up. I could see tension in his shoulders. Well, if your boyfriend here can't fix it, my buddy Tony runs a garage back in town. Of course, it might take him a few days to get the parts. Few days you'd need somewhere to stay. The man's grin widened. We know a place. Thanks, but we're fine, Sam said firmly, moving slightly between me and the 2 men. Ah, come on now. No need to be unfriendly. We're just trying to help out some stranded travelers. The man's tone shifted, becoming less friendly. Seems to me like you could use all the help you can get. That's when my phone rang. I glanced down and saw my boyfriend's name, and without thinking, I answered. Thank God you finally called back, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. We've got some guys here bothering us and— Whoa, slow down, my boyfriend interrupted. Guys bothering you? What guys? There are these 2 men who showed up and they're being really creepy and— Are you serious right now? You're calling me about some random people talking to you? I thought this was an actual emergency. The 2 men had heard every word. They exchanged glances and the larger one chuckled. Emergency? He said mockingly. Sounds like your boyfriend doesn't think you're in any real trouble. I felt my face burn with humiliation. Can you please just— I started to say into the phone. Look, I don't know what you want me to do about random people in Nevada. Deal with it yourself. You've got Sam there, right? The line went dead. Again. The 2 men burst out laughing. Boyfriend hung up on you? The first one said. That's rough, sweetheart. Sounds like he doesn't much care what happens to you out here. Sam slammed the hood of the car down hard enough to make everyone jump. Time for you two to move along. Or what? The second man stepped closer. You're going to make us? If I have to. I had never seen Sam look like this before. He was normally the most easygoing person I knew, always quick with a joke or a smile. But standing there in the desert heat, covered in grease and sweat, he looked genuinely dangerous. The two men must have seen it too, because after a moment of tense staring, they backed off. Whatever, man. Your loss. The larger one spat in the dirt. Come on, Billy, let's leave these city folks to figure things out themselves. They got back in their pickup and drove off, leaving us standing in the parking lot. My hands were shaking as I put my phone away. You okay? Sam asked softly. No, I said honestly. No, I'm really not okay. Sam started the car, and miraculously, it turned over smoothly. The temperature gauge stayed in the normal range, and there was no more steam rising from under the hood. It's fixed? I asked, surprised. It's fixed. He managed a small smile. Should get us wherever we need to go now. We drove in silence for a while, both processing what had just happened. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. He hung up on me, I said quietly. Those guys were clearly bad news, and he hung up on me, I noticed. And they heard everything. They heard him say it wasn't an emergency. They heard him tell me to deal with it myself. Sam's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Yeah, if you hadn't been there, I didn't finish the sentence. But I was there. But what if you hadn't been? What if I'd been alone? Sam pulled over at a scenic overlook and turned off the engine. We sat there looking out at the desert landscape, mountains rising in the distance like sleeping giants. Can I ask you something? Sam said finally. Sure. When was the last time he made you feel safe? The question hit me like a punch to the stomach. What do you mean? I mean, when was the last time something bad happened or you were scared or worried and calling him made you feel better instead of worse? I thought about it, really thought about it. Every crisis I'd had in the past year, every moment when I'd needed support or help or just someone to listen, I had called Sam. When I'd gotten that scary medical test result and needed someone to drive me to the follow-up appointment. When my boss had screamed at me in front of the whole office and I'd hidden in the bathroom crying. When my dad had his heart attack and I'd needed someone to help me get to the hospital. Every time, it had been Sam. I can't remember, I admitted. Sam nodded like he'd expected that answer. You want to know what I think? What? I think you deserve someone who would move heaven and earth to get to you if you were in trouble. Someone who would cancel every meeting, drive all night, spend every dollar they had to make sure you were safe. Sam, I'm not saying it has to be me. His voice was quiet, careful. I'm just saying it should be someone. And it sure as hell shouldn't be someone who hangs up on you when strangers are making you uncomfortable. My phone buzzed with another text. I looked down automatically. Whatever game you're playing, it's not funny anymore. Come home. I stared at the message, feeling something shift inside me like tectonic plates moving. Game? He thought this was a game? He thinks I'm playing a game, I said, showing Sam the message. Sam read it and shook his head. Of course he does. What's that supposed to mean? It means he can't imagine a scenario where you might have actual problems that don't revolve around him. It means he thinks you're pretending to be stranded in the desert just to get his attention. I looked at the message again, then at Sam's grease-stained clothes and the concern written all over his face. My boyfriend thought I was playing games while Sam had spent the entire day literally getting his hands dirty to solve my problems. You know what? I said, typing furiously. Not playing games. Car is actually broken. I'm actually stranded. Some creepy guys actually bothered us. But don't worry about it. According to you, it's not a real emergency. His response came back immediately. Don't be dramatic. If it was really that bad, Sam wouldn't have let anything happen to you. I showed the message to Sam, who read it and laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. At least he's got that much right, Sam said. I wouldn't let anything happen to you. Why? I asked suddenly. Why do you care so much? Sam was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the desert. You really want to know? Yeah. He turned to look at me, and there was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Because you matter to me. Because when you're happy, I'm happy. Because when you're in trouble, nothing else in the world seems important until I know you're safe. The words hung in the air between us like a confession. And because, he continued softly, I've been in love with you for about 2 years now, and I'm tired of pretending I'm not. The silence stretched between us like a tightrope. I stared at Sam, my mind reeling from his confession. 2 years. He'd been in love with me for 2 years, and I'd had no idea. Sam, I started, but my phone rang before I could finish the thought. My boyfriend's name flashed on the screen. Sam saw it too and leaned back in his seat, running his hands through his hair. You should answer it, he said quietly. I hesitated, then swiped to accept the call. Hello? Okay, I've been thinking, my boyfriend said without preamble. I talked to Chad about your situation, and he thinks you should just drive to Vegas. It's only like 2 hours from where you are. Vegas? Yeah, you can get the car looked at there, stay in a nice hotel, make a vacation out of it. Turn this whole disaster into something fun. I looked at Sam, who was staring out at the desert with a carefully neutral expression. What about you? What about me? Would you come meet us there? There was a pause. Well, I can't exactly drop everything and fly to Vegas. I've got work. But you and Sam can handle it. You want me to go to Vegas. With Sam. Without you. Why not? You guys are already on your little adventure together. The word stung. Little adventure. Like this whole nightmare had been some fun escapade instead of a series of genuine emergencies. And what if I said I needed you to come? What if I said I wanted my boyfriend with me instead of just sending me off to Vegas with another guy? Another guy? Sam's your friend. It's not like he trailed off, then laughed uncomfortably. You're being ridiculous. Am I? Yes. Look, Sam's already there. He's good with cars. He can take care of whatever needs taking care of. I don't see why I need to fly across the country when you've already got help. I felt something crack inside my chest. Because I'm your girlfriend. Because when your girlfriend needs you, you're supposed to want to be there. I do want to be there, but I'm being practical. Sam's got it handled. What if Sam wasn't here? What if I was alone? Another pause. But you're not alone. That's not the point. Then what is the point? You want me to prove something by dropping everything and rushing to your rescue when you've already got someone there who can help you? I looked at Sam again. He was trying to give me privacy, but I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw was clenched. Never mind, I said finally. You're right. Sam's got it handled. Good. I'm glad you're being reasonable about this. Text me when you get to Vegas, okay? He hung up before I could respond. Vegas? Sam asked quietly. He thinks we should drive to Vegas, make a vacation out of it. I put my phone down and rubbed my temples. He said you could handle whatever needs handling. Sam turned to look at me. And what do you think? I stopped trying to organize my thoughts. I think I just asked my boyfriend to come be with me when I needed him. And he said no, because you're already here. Yeah, that's not normal, is it? That's not how relationships are supposed to work? Sam was quiet for a moment. What do you think? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hey, this is Jenny from your book club. Got your number from Mark. He said you were on some road trip with Sam. Thought you broke up with him months ago? Confused. I stared at the message, my blood turning to ice. Oh my god, what? I showed him the text. Jenny from my book club. She thinks I broke up with my boyfriend months ago. Sam's eyes widened. What? She says Mark told her I was on a road trip with you, and she thought I'd broken up with him months ago. My hands were shaking as I typed back, I'm still with Mark. Why would you think we broke up? The response came quickly. Oh, weird. He's been telling everyone you guys split up. He even brought a date to Tyler's birthday party last month and said you were seeing other people now. Super awkward. I felt like the ground had dropped out from under me. He brought a date to Tyler's birthday party. He told people we broke up. Sam leaned over to read the messages. When was Tyler's birthday party? Last month. The weekend I was visiting my sister in Portland. My voice sounded hollow. He said he had to work that weekend. That's why he couldn't come with me. But he went to a party. With a date. With a date. I was typing frantically now. What date? Who did he bring? Some blonde girl from his gym, I think? Really pretty. He introduced her as his girlfriend. Are you guys in an open relationship or something? I screenshotted the conversation and immediately called my boyfriend. He answered on the first ring. Miss me already? He said in a cheerful voice that made me want to scream. Who's the blonde girl from your gym? The silence was deafening. What? He said finally. Tyler's birthday party. Last month. You brought a date and introduced her as your girlfriend. Who told you that? Does it matter who told me? Is it true? Look, it's not what you think. It's not what I think. You took another woman to a party and called her your girlfriend, but it's not what I think. She's just a friend. People were asking about you and it was easier to just, I don't know, I was drinking. I said something stupid. You said something stupid? You introduced another woman as your girlfriend because you said something stupid? Sam had gotten out of the car and was pacing back and forth, running his hands through his hair. I could see he was furious, but he was trying to give me space to handle this. It didn't mean anything, my boyfriend was saying. It was just one night and you were gone anyway. I was visiting my sick sister. You said you had to work. I did have to work. I worked late Friday, and then Tyler invited me to his party and you decided to bring a date. She's not a date. She's just, look, we've been having problems, okay? You're always busy with work or hanging out with Sam or whatever, and I was feeling neglected, so you found someone else. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Explain to me what it's like when you take another woman to a party and introduce her as your girlfriend while telling me you have to work. You're blowing this out of proportion, am I? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been living a double life. Telling people we broke up, dating other women, lying about having to work. I haven't been dating other women. It was one party that I know about. How many parties don't I know about? The silence stretched out again. That's what I thought, I said quietly. Look, can we talk about this when you get home? This isn't really a conversation for over the phone. No, the word came out stronger than I'd expected. No, we're talking about this now. You're being emotional. You're stuck in the desert and you're stressed and you're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in months. What's that supposed to mean? I looked at Sam, who had stopped pacing and was watching me with concern. It means I'm starting to understand what everyone else can see but I've been blind to. What everyone else can see? What are you talking about? Jenny knew we were broken up before I did. She thought it was weird that you told people we split up months ago. Months ago? How long have you been telling people we're not together? It's complicated. It's really not complicated. Either we're together or we're not. Either you're my boyfriend or you're not. Either you care about me or you don't. Of course I care about you. Do you? I felt tears starting, but they were angry tears. Because caring about someone means being there when they need you. It means not lying to them. It means not introducing other women as your girlfriend at parties. You're with Sam right now. Sam is my friend. Sam fixed my car. Sam protected me from creepy strangers while you hung up on me. Sam has been nothing but loyal and helpful and honest with me. Sam's in love with you. The words hung in the air like an accusation. I glanced at Sam, who had gone completely still. How do you know that? I asked quietly. Come on, it's obvious. The way he looks at you, the way he's always available whenever you need anything. I've known for months. You've known for months that Sam has feelings for me. Yeah, and you never said anything. What was I supposed to say? I don't know. Maybe you were supposed to care? Maybe you were supposed to be concerned that another man was in love with your girlfriend? Maybe you were supposed to want to be the person I called when I needed help. No, you don't. You were relieved. You've been relieved this whole time that Sam was here to take care of me so you didn't have to. You were probably relieved when you heard I was going on this trip with him because it meant you could spend the weekend with your gym girlfriend without having to sneak around. That's not, isn't it? Tell me honestly. When I told you Sam and I were going on this road trip, were you upset about it? Were you jealous? Did you wish you were coming instead? The silence was answer enough. You were relieved, I said, my voice breaking. You were relieved to get rid of me for a few days. That's not true. Yes, it is. And you know what the worst part is? I've been feeling guilty this whole time. Guilty for wanting you to care more. Guilty for needing more from you. Guilty for being disappointed when you weren't there for me. Sam had moved closer to the car, and I could see him watching me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not pity, not even sympathy. Something fiercer. Something protective. I've been apologizing for having needs, I continued. Apologizing for wanting my boyfriend to actually want to be my boyfriend. But I'm done apologizing. What are you saying? I looked at Sam, who was standing in the desert heat, his shirt ruined from fixing my car, his hands still stained with grease from hours of work, his face sunburned from protecting me. Then I looked at my phone, at the lies and excuses and dismissals from the man who was supposed to love me. I'm saying this conversation is over, I said quietly. We're done. You can't be serious. You're going to throw away 2 years over one stupid party? I'm not throwing away 2 years over one party. I'm ending a relationship that's been over for months. You already told everyone when it was over. I'm just making it official. You're making a mistake. I hung up and immediately blocked his number. Sam was beside the car now, leaning against the door. You okay? No, I said honestly, but I think I will be. My phone was buzzing with notifications. Texts from the gym girlfriend's number, emails, calls from other numbers. I turned it off completely. So, Sam said carefully, what happens now? I looked at him, really looked at him. He'd confessed his feelings and then watched me discover my boyfriend's lies and betrayal. And through it all, he'd been nothing but patient and supportive. Even now, he wasn't pushing or trying to take advantage of the situation. He was just there. Now, I said, I think we finish our road trip. We had been driving for about an hour when Sam's phone started ringing. He glanced at the screen and frowned. It's your boyfriend, he said. Ex-boyfriend, whatever. Don't answer it. The phone went quiet, then immediately started ringing again. Then again. He's persistent, Sam observed. He's panicking. I felt oddly calm. He probably just realized that all his lies are about to come out. Sam's phone buzzed with a text. He handed it to me while keeping his eyes on the road. You can read it if you want. The message was from my ex. Tell her to answer her phone. She's making a huge mistake. I deleted the message without responding. We drove in comfortable silence until we reached a small roadside diner with a gravel parking lot and a neon sign that flickered between Eat and ET. Sam pulled in and turned off the engine. I don't know about you, but I'm starving, he said. And I could use some air conditioning. The diner was one of those timeless places with red vinyl booths and a checkerboard floor. A handful of other customers were scattered around. A trucker at the counter, an elderly couple sharing a piece of pie, a family with 2 young kids. We slid into a booth by the window, and I finally felt myself starting to relax for the first time all day. So, Sam said after we'd ordered, how are you feeling about everything? Honestly, I feel like an idiot. I stirred sugar into my iced tea. 2 years, Sam? I wasted 2 years on someone who was basically living a double life. You're not an idiot. You trusted someone who didn't deserve it. That's not a character flaw. I should have seen the signs. What signs? That he was a good liar? Before I could respond, the bell above the diner door chimed, and I looked up to see my ex-boyfriend walking in. My stomach dropped. How did he find us? I whispered. Sam turned around and saw him. GPS probably. If he has access to your phone's location. My ex spotted us immediately and strode over to our table. He looked furious and desperate, his hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it. We need to talk, he said, ignoring Sam completely. No, we don't. I didn't look up from my menu. Yes, we do. You can't just blow up our entire relationship over a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Now I did look at him. You introduced another woman as your girlfriend. You told people we broke up months ago. What part of that is a misunderstanding? Keep your voice down, he hissed, glancing around at the other customers who were starting to stare. Why? Worried about what people will think? This is between us. It's private. Sam leaned back in his seat, his arms crossed. Funny how you're concerned about privacy now. My ex finally acknowledged Sam's presence with a withering look. This doesn't concern you. Actually, it does, Sam said calmly. See, I'm the one who's been taking care of your girlfriend while you've been playing house with someone else. Taking care of her? Is that what you call it? The trucker at the counter had turned around completely now, openly watching the drama unfold. The elderly couple was trying to pretend they weren't listening, but I could see them straining to hear every word. Yeah, Sam said. Taking care of her. You know, actually being there when she needs help. Novel concept, I know, right? And I'm sure you've been a perfect gentleman this whole time. I'm sure you haven't been trying to get in her head, turn her against me. I didn't have to turn her against you. You did that all by yourself. My ex's face was getting redder. You think you're so noble, don't you? Saint Sam, always ready to swoop in and save the day. At least I swoop in. You just hang up. That's enough, I said, but neither of them was listening to me anymore. You want to know the truth? My ex said, his voice getting louder. She's been using you for years. Every time she has a problem, every time she needs something fixed or someone to drive her somewhere, she calls you. And you come running like a lovesick puppy. The family with kids was staring openly now. Even the waitress had stopped what she was doing to watch. And you know what she does after you solve all her problems? My ex continued. She comes home to me. She sleeps in my bed. She tells me about her day and doesn't mention you at all unless it's to complain about how you're always hanging around. I felt like he'd slapped me. That's not true, isn't it? How many times have you told me Sam was being too much? How many times have you said you wished he would back off and give you some space? Sam's face had gone pale. He was looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. I started, then stopped, because there was a grain of truth in what my ex was saying. I had complained about Sam being overly helpful sometimes. I had said I felt smothered occasionally, but I'd said those things because my boyfriend had made me feel guilty about having a male friend who cared about me. He'd made me feel like Sam's kindness was somehow inappropriate, like I was leading him on by accepting his help. See? My ex said triumphantly. She's been stringing you along this whole time, and you were too pathetic to see it. That's when Sam stood up. The movement was quick and fluid, and suddenly he was towering over my ex-boyfriend. You want to call me pathetic? Sam's voice was quiet but dangerous. Let's talk about pathetic. Pathetic is lying to your girlfriend for months. Pathetic is bringing dates to parties while she's taking care of her sick family. Pathetic is hanging up on her when she's scared and needs help. Pathetic is driving 300 miles to hunt down your girlfriend in a diner because you're terrified she's going to tell people what you really are. What I really am? A coward, a liar, a man so insecure that you're threatened by someone who actually gives a damn about her. The entire diner had gone silent now. Even the kitchen staff had come out to watch. My ex looked around at all the staring faces and seemed to realize he was making a scene. But instead of backing down, he doubled down. You want to know what's really going on here? He said loudly, addressing the whole diner now. My girlfriend ran off with another man, and now she's trying to make me look like the bad guy because she got caught. The trucker at the counter snorted. Caught doing what? Having car trouble? She planned this whole thing. The road trip, the breakdown, all of it. It's all an excuse to spend time with her boyfriend's best friend. Ex-boyfriend, I said firmly, standing up beside Sam. And I didn't plan anything. My car actually broke down, and Sam actually fixed it while you were actually on a date with another woman. I wasn't on a date. You introduced her as your girlfriend. That was a mistake. No, I said, my voice carrying clearly through the silent diner. The mistake was thinking I deserved to be treated like garbage for 2 years. 2 years, the elderly woman piped up. Honey, you wasted 2 years on this fool? Apparently so. Well, good riddance, the trucker said. Sounds like you're better off without him. My ex whirled around to face the room full of strangers. This is none of your business. You made it our business when you started yelling in our diner, the waitress said dryly. And for what it's worth, I'm with them. Any man who hangs up on his girl when she's in trouble isn't worth the dirt on her shoes. You don't know what you're talking about. I know enough, the trucker said, standing up from his stool. He was a big man, and my ex took an instinctive step backward. I know a man who takes care of business when I see one. He nodded at Sam. And I know a boy who makes excuses when I see one too. He looked at my ex with undisguised disgust. This is insane, my ex said. You people don't even know us. Don't need to know you, the elderly man said. Been married 43 years, and I can tell you right now, that boy there, he pointed at Sam. He's got the heart of a man who'd move mountains for his woman. You? He shook his head. You got the heart of a boy who'd let his woman move the mountains herself. My ex looked around the room desperately, but every face was hostile or disgusted. Even the kids were staring at him like he was something unpleasant they'd found on their shoes. Fine, he said finally. Fine, you want him? You can have him. But don't come crying to me when you realize he's not the man you think he is. Don't come crawling back when the novelty wears off and you remember all the reasons you chose me in the first place. I chose you, I said quietly, because I didn't think I deserved better. But I do deserve better, and I'm done settling for less. You'll regret this. Sam stepped forward slightly, and my ex immediately backed up again. The only thing she'll regret, Sam said, is not figuring out what you really were sooner. And what am I exactly? Sam looked at him for a long moment, then said simply, gone. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't angry or dramatic. It was just a statement of fact, delivered with the quiet confidence of someone who knew they'd already won. My ex opened his mouth like he was going to say something else, then seemed to realize he had nothing left. He looked at me one last time, his face a mixture of anger and something that might have been genuine hurt. This isn't over, he said. Yes, I replied calmly. It is. He stormed out of the diner, the bell clanging violently behind him. Through the window, we could see him standing beside his car in the parking lot, talking animatedly on his phone. Calling for backup, the trucker joked and everyone laughed. The tension in the diner evaporated the moment my ex drove away. The trucker bought our lunch. The elderly couple invited us to sit with them for dessert, and the waitress refused to let us pay for our coffee. It was like the entire room had collectively decided to adopt us. 43 years, the elderly woman said, patting my hand. And I'm telling you, honey, that boy's got the look. What look? The look my Harold had when he was courting me, like you hung the moon and stars just for him. I glanced at Sam, who was deep in conversation with her husband about carburetor repair techniques. We haven't. Honey, that man just drove 300 miles and faced down your crazy ex-boyfriend. If that's not a declaration of intent, I don't know what is. 20 minutes later, we were back in the car, heading west toward the mountains. My phone, which I'd finally turned back on, was buzzing constantly with notifications, but I ignored them all. So, Sam said as we merged onto the highway, that happened. I looked at him sideways. Thank you for everything today, but especially for standing up to him back there. You stood up to him too. That speech about deserving better, that was all you. I meant what I said, about being done settling for less. Sam nodded, his eyes on the road. Good, you shouldn't settle. Not ever. We drove in comfortable silence for a while, the desert giving way to hills, then mountains. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Sam, yeah? What you said back at the overlook. About being in love with me. His hands tightened slightly on the steering wheel. Yeah? Did you mean it? Every word. And you've really felt that way for 2 years? About 2.5, actually. But who's counting? I looked out at the desert landscape rushing past us, then back at Sam. Really looked at him. The strong hands that had fixed my car. The patient eyes that had watched me figure out the truth about my relationship. The steady presence that had been there through every crisis, every celebration, every ordinary Tuesday for the past 3 years. I said slowly, I'd like to find out what it feels like to be with someone who actually wants to be with me. Sam glanced over at me, hope flickering in his expression. Yeah. I reached over and took his hand. I think I'd like that very much. He squeezed my fingers gently, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. My phone buzzed one last time. I glanced at it and saw a text from my ex. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. I deleted it without reading the rest, then turned the phone off completely. Some mistakes, I thought as we drove toward the mountains, were actually the best decisions you never knew you wanted to make.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your favorite part in the comments. See you in the next one.